Millionaire woman marries fisherman from poor village on honeymoon. She learns his secret. Sun was setting over the outer banks of North Carolina as 33-year-old Vivian Sterling stood on the wraparound porch of the luxury resort, where she had been attending a week-long corporate retreat. As the founder and CEO of Sterling Digital Solutions, a company that had revolutionized online marketing for major corporations, Vivian commanded a personal fortune exceeding $500 million and wielded influence that extended throughout the tech industry and beyond. Vivian's life had been a carefully orchestrated symphony of business meetings, strategic partnerships, and social obligations that left little room for spontaneity or genuine human connection. Her romantic relationships had followed the same calculated patterns as her business dealings, partnerships with other successful executives that enhanced both parties' social status and professional networks while providing appropriate companionship. For someone of her prominence and achievements, the corporate retreat in North Carolina had been designed to provide relaxation and team-building opportunities for high-level executives, but Vivian had found herself increasingly restless and disconnected from the manufactured camaraderie and structured activities. On the third evening of the retreat, seeking solitude and authentic experience, she had walked beyond the resort's manicured grounds to explore the rugged coastline and small fishing communities that existed in stark contrast to her privileged world. It was during this solitary exploration that Vivian had encountered Thomas Mitchell, a 35-year-old commercial fisherman whose weather-beaten hands and sun-darkened skin told the story of a life spent working on the water. Thomas operated a small fishing boat out of a village where most residents had lived for generations, supporting themselves through fishing, crabbing, and the occasional tourist who ventured off the main tourist routes to experience authentic coastal culture. Thomas's first impression of Vivian had been complicated by the obvious disparity between her expensive resort attire and the working-class environment where he spent his days. However, her genuine curiosity about his work and life, combined with her willingness to sit on weathered dock pilings and listen to his stories about commercial fishing, had quickly overcome his initial wariness about her motivations and background. What had drawn Vivian to Thomas wasn't just the novelty of encountering someone from a completely different world, but his authentic contentment with a life that was both physically demanding and financially modest. His stories about sunrise fishing expeditions, his deep knowledge of marine ecosystems, and his obvious love for work that connected him directly to natural rhythms and seasonal cycles revealed perspectives on success and fulfillment that challenged everything Vivian had been taught about achievement and happiness. Thomas's education had ended with high school, but his intelligence and wisdom about life, relationships, and finding meaning in simple experiences impressed Vivian more than most. Conversations with her highly credentialed business associates, his observations about the natural world, his insights into human character developed through years of working with different crew members, and his philosophical approach to the uncertainties and dangers of commercial fishing revealed depth and sophistication that hadn't been developed in boardrooms or graduate programs. Over the remaining days of Vivian's corporate retreat, she found herself spending every free moment with Thomas, exploring the coastal villages and experiencing a way of life that was completely foreign to her urban, technology-focused existence. Their conversations revealed that despite their different backgrounds, they shared similar values about honesty, hard work, and the importance of contributing meaningfully to their communities. Thomas's attraction to Vivian had been equally unexpected and profound. Beyond her obvious beauty and intelligence, he had been drawn to her genuine interest in his world and her willingness to appreciate experiences that couldn't be purchased or controlled. Her questions about his work demonstrated curiosity rather than condescension, and her obvious enjoyment of simple pleasures like watching sunrise over the ocean or sharing meals of freshly caught fish suggested that her wealth hadn't completely isolated her from authentic human experiences. The romance that developed between Vivian and Thomas challenged both of them to examine their assumptions about compatibility, social expectations, and what they truly wanted from life. For Vivian, Thomas represented authenticity and connection to fundamental human experiences that had been missing from her relationships with other successful professionals. His contentment with simple pleasures and his focus on relationships rather than achievements had shown her different ways of measuring success and finding fulfillment. For Thomas, Vivian's friendship had provided intellectual stimulation and emotional depth that he had rarely encountered in this small fishing community. Her perspectives on business, technology, and the broader world had expanded his understanding of possibilities beyond his traditional lifestyle, while her obvious respect for his knowledge and skills had validated aspects of his life that others often dismissed as unsophisticated or limited. However, their relationship had also been complicated by the obvious disparities in their social and economic status. Vivian's family and business associates had been shocked and concerned about her involvement with someone they considered entirely inappropriate for a woman of her achievement and responsibilities. Their opposition had been based not only on class prejudices but also on practical concerns about how such a relationship might affect her professional reputation and business relationships. Thomas had faced different but equally challenging pressures from his own community, where some friends and family members suspected that his relationship with Vivian was motivated by financial opportunity rather than genuine affection. His decision to continue seeing her despite these suspicions had required him to defend his integrity and motivations in ways that were both painful and isolating from people whose opinions had always mattered to him. The wedding that had shocked both their worlds had been planned as a compromise between Vivian's social obligations and Thomas's preference for simplicity and authenticity. The ceremony had taken place at a small chapel overlooking the harbor where Thomas kept his boat, attended by a mixture of Vivian's business associates who had traveled from major cities and Thomas's extended family and fishing community friends, who had rarely encountered such wealth and sophistication. The contrast between the two groups had been stark but surprisingly harmonious, as Vivian's genuine happiness and Thomas's obvious character had gradually won over skeptics from both sides. The reception had featured both champagne and beer, lobster and barbecue, creating an atmosphere that honored both of their backgrounds while celebrating their commitment to building a life together that transcended social boundaries. For their honeymoon, Vivian had selected a private island resort in the Caribbean that offered both luxury amenities and opportunities for the kind of water-based activities that Thomas enjoyed. The location had seemed perfect for allowing them to experience each other's worlds. Vivian could enjoy the sophisticated accommodations and service she was accustomed to, while Thomas could pursue fishing, diving, and other marine activities that connected him to his professional expertise and personal passions. The first few days of their honeymoon had been idyllic, filled with romantic dinners, sunset sailing, and intimate conversations about their hopes for their marriage and their future together. Thomas had seemed to adapt well to the luxury resort environment, though Vivian had noticed that he preferred outdoor activities and simple pleasures to the elaborate amenities and formal service that typically impressed guests at such exclusive destinations. However, by the fourth day of their honeymoon, Vivian had begun to notice subtle inconsistencies in Thomas's behavior and knowledge that created growing curiosity and eventually concern about aspects of his background that didn't align with his claimed history as a small-town fisherman. His familiarity with the resort's high-end amenities suggested previous experience with luxury that contradicted his modest background, while his sophisticated knowledge of international cuisine, wine, and cultural references indicated education and exposure that seemed inconsistent with his claimed life experience. Thomas's comfort with the resort staff's various languages, his understanding of complex navigation and marine technology, and his casual references to places and experiences that a commercial fisherman from North Carolina would be unlikely to have encountered began to create a pattern of inconsistencies that Vivian found increasingly difficult to ignore or rationalize. The growing mystery surrounding Thomas's true background created tension and uncertainty that threatened to overshadow the happiness and intimacy they had been building during their honeymoon. Vivian found herself torn between her love for the man she had married and her growing suspicion that crucial aspects of his identity and past remained hidden from her. On the evening of their 6th day in paradise, as they sat on their private terrace watching the sunset over the Caribbean, Vivian made the difficult decision to confront Thomas about the inconsistency she had observed. Her approach was careful and loving, but her questions about his background and experiences demanded honest answers that would either resolve her concerns or confirm her growing suspicion that the man she had married was not entirely who he claimed to be. Thomas's reaction to Vivian's gentle but persistent questioning revealed both his love for her and his recognition that their marriage could not survive if it continued to be based on incomplete truth about his identity and circumstances. The moment of reckoning that followed would either strengthen their relationship through complete honesty or shatter it through the revelation of deceptions that neither had anticipated when they committed to spending their lives together. Thomas sat in silence for several long minutes after Vivian's gentle but direct questions about the inconsistencies she had observed in his behavior and knowledge. The Caribbean breeze rustled the palm trees around their private terrace as the sun completed its descent toward the horizon, creating a romantic setting that contrasted sharply with the tension and uncertainty that had developed between them. When Thomas finally began to speak, his voice carried a mixture of relief and apprehension that suggested he had been both dreading and hoping for this conversation. Throughout their honeymoon, his admission that he had not been completely honest about his background was delivered with obvious regret and concern about how his revelation might affect their new marriage. Thomas's true story began with his explanation that while he was indeed from the North Carolina fishing community where Vivian had met him, his background and circumstances were far more complex than he had initially revealed. His family name, Mitchell, carried significant weight in maritime industries throughout the Atlantic coast, though he had deliberately obscured this connection to avoid the assumptions and expectations that came with inherited wealth and business prominence. The Mitchell family had built their fortune over 4 generations through a combination of commercial fishing operations, seafood processing facilities, and maritime shipping ventures that had grown from humble beginnings into a multi-million-dollar enterprise. Thomas was not just a working fisherman, but the heir to this maritime empire, with business interests that extended from North Carolina to Maine and included partnerships with major grocery chains, restaurant groups, and international seafood distributors. Thomas's decision to work as a regular crew member rather than managing the family business had been motivated by his desire to understand every aspect of the maritime industry from the ground up, but also by his need to establish his own identity, separate from the wealth and influence he would eventually inherit. His years working on fishing boats, learning traditional techniques, and building relationships with working fishermen had been part of a deliberate strategy to earn respect and credibility within the industry rather than simply relying on his family connections. However, Thomas's deception went beyond simply concealing his family's wealth and business interests. His sophisticated knowledge of international cuisine, navigation technology, and cultural references had been acquired through extensive travel and education that he had funded through his inheritance while maintaining the appearance of living on a fisherman's modest income. His comfort with luxury resort amenities came from years of traveling to similar destinations, often to conduct business meetings or develop partnerships for the family enterprise. What made Thomas's revelation even more complex was his explanation of why he had chosen to conceal his true circumstances from Vivian. His previous relationships with women from wealthy backgrounds had been complicated by questions about whether their interest in him was based on genuine affection or attraction to his family's business connections had inherited wealth. His decision to present himself as a simple fisherman had been motivated by his desire to find someone who could love him for his character and personality rather than his financial advantages. Thomas's assessment of Vivian's character during their courtship had convinced him that she was genuinely attracted to the person she believed him to be, a hardworking man who found fulfillment in honest labor and simple pleasures. Her willingness to consider marriage, despite believing that he could offer her nothing material, had demonstrated the authenticity and depth of her feelings in ways that gave him confidence in their compatibility and shared values. However, Thomas's continued deception throughout their engagement and wedding had been motivated by uncertainty about how to reveal the truth, without seeming to have deliberately misled her about fundamental aspects of his identity and circumstances. His fear that Vivian might feel betrayed or manipulated by his concealment of his wealth and business responsibilities had created a situation where the longer he waited to tell the truth, the more difficult and potentially damaging the revelation became. Thomas's explanation of his family's business operations revealed the scope and sophistication of the maritime empire he was expected to inherit and eventually manage. The Mitchell enterprises included sustainable fishing operations that employed hundreds of people, seafood processing facilities that supplied major restaurant chains throughout the East Coast, and shipping operations that transported goods throughout the Atlantic region. His eventual leadership of these businesses would require the same kind of strategic thinking and management skills that had made Vivian successful in the technology industry. What made Thomas's revelation particularly significant was his explanation of his long-term plans for the family business and his hopes for how Vivian's expertise might contribute to its growth and development. The maritime industry was undergoing technological transformation that required exactly the kind of digital innovation and strategic partnerships that Vivian's company specialized in developing. Their marriage could create opportunities for business collaboration that would benefit both their enterprises while allowing them to work together on projects that aligned with their shared values. Thomas's admission that he had been planning to reveal his true circumstances after their honeymoon, once their marriage was established and Vivian had time to understand his character separate from his family's wealth, demonstrated both his commitment to honesty and his recognition that successful relationships required complete transparency about identity and circumstances. Vivian's response to Thomas's revelation was complex and emotional, combining relief at having her suspicions confirmed with concern about the implications of his deception for their marriage. Her initial reaction focused not on his wealth or business responsibilities, which were less significant than her own, but on his decision to build their relationship on incomplete information about his identity and circumstances. However, Vivian's business experience and emotional intelligence allowed her to understand Thomas's motivations for concealing his background while also recognizing the genuine love and commitment that had motivated his eventual honesty. Her own experiences with relationships that had been complicated by assumptions about her wealth and success helped her empathize with his desire to find authentic connection based on character rather than financial advantages. The conversation that followed Thomas's revelation became a deeper exploration of their shared values, compatible goals, and the ways that their respective business expertise and resources could create opportunities for meaningful collaboration. Their discussion revealed that both had been searching for partners who could understand the responsibilities and isolation that came with inherited wealth and business leadership, while also sharing commitments to using their advantages to benefit their communities and industries. Thomas's proposal that they work together to develop sustainable fishing and seafood distribution systems using digital technology and innovative business models offered Vivian an opportunity to apply her expertise to industries and communities that she had never previously considered. His deep knowledge of maritime operations combined with her understanding of technology and strategic partnerships could create solutions to environmental and economic challenges facing coastal communities throughout the country. The remainder of their honeymoon was spent developing plans for both their marriage and their potential business collaborations, creating a partnership that would combine their personal happiness with meaningful work that could benefit thousands of families whose livelihoods depended on maritime industries. Their shared commitment to sustainability, community development, and responsible business practices provided a foundation for both romantic and professional relationships that aligned with their values and long-term goals. 6 months after Thomas's revelation, their joint ventures had begun transforming both their businesses and their marriage. Vivian's digital marketing expertise had helped the Mitchell Maritime Enterprises develop direct-to-consumer sales channels that increased profits for fishing families while providing fresher, more sustainable seafood to urban markets. Thomas's knowledge of supply chain logistics had helped Vivian's technology company develop more efficient distribution systems for clients in various industries. Their marriage had evolved into a true partnership that combined love, shared values, and complementary skills in service of goals that neither could have achieved alone. The deception that had initially threatened their relationship had ultimately strengthened it by forcing them to build their connection on complete honesty and mutual respect for both their similarities and differences. The story concluded with Thomas and Vivian establishing a foundation that provided technology training and business development support for fishing communities throughout the Atlantic coast, helping traditional maritime workers adapt to changing economic conditions while preserving the cultural traditions and environmental sustainability that had sustained their communities for generations. The fisherman who had revealed his secret during their honeymoon had given Vivian something more valuable than another business opportunity. He had shown her how authentic love could survive deception when it was based on genuine compatibility and shared commitment to using their advantages to help others achieve security and success.
Thank you for watching this story unfold with us here on M&A The Story Unfolds. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new tale. We'd love to know where you're watching from. Leave a comment below and tell us what part of the world you're joining us from. Your support means everything. See you in the next story.